Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So my name is Joseph Russell. I'm Strategy Director at JH. I'm going to be your host here today in the main auditorium for the merchant track. I got to tell you guys, with the format we're doing this year, we've got more sessions than we've ever done before. It's absolutely packed one. We've got 8 talks, 2 big panels, and among all the speakers, we've got more merchants than ever. So, as well as hearing from the likes of Adobe, as you've done already this morning, you're going to get to hear lots of real kind of tales from the trenches, from everybody who, like yourselves, if you're merchants here, are facing the same kind of problems and have got, really interesting ideas and solutions for you. So, like I say, really, really cracking agenda today. I'm really proud of it. Starting us, though, is a little fireside chat. We're going to be hearing them explore the role of CTO in online retail. And, we've got 2 perfect people for it, 2 real, suitably technical experts to walk you through their experience of being CTO. First, we've got Zac Stevens, who is Chief Architect at Akoova, the Magento hosting platform. And with him, we've got Paul Younghusband, CTO at ME+EM, one of the UK's leading luxury womenswear brands. So, taking us away, please give a warm welcome to Zac and Paul.
Oh, a bit further than I was expecting.
Squeaky seat here.
There we go.
Try not to let that distract us.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. You are in the right place. 2 CTOs on the merchant track.
We'll try not to bore you.
We didn't get lost. No. You haven't got lost. At my company, Akoova, we have believed from the beginning that the way to achieve supreme results is to get people with different perspectives working together. And so that's why we proposed this talk for the merchant track, just to try to share a little bit of a perspective of CTOs working in and supporting retail businesses. My guest, Paul, is an excellent person to help me get that perspective across. He's been a CTO in retail businesses for over 20 years and played a pivotal role at End Clothing in their period of massive growth and is now working at ME+EM. So thank you for joining me, Paul. And what can you tell us about ME+EM?
You're very welcome. ME+EM, as you said, is a luxury fashion brand. I joined in November, so I kind of feel like I'm not really new anymore, but I don't really feel like I've been here a long time. But I think what really attracted me to this role was when I interviewed back in August and met the founder, Claire Hornby. She was just so passionate about the customer. Like you could just feel that passion and enthusiasm for the customer, and that's kind of how I feel. That's why I do what I do. I know I'm a tech guy, but actually everything I do is for the customer and to create great customer experiences. So that's what really attracted me to the role. But they're going through phenomenal growth right now. It's just incredible to see, and it's a tough market right now. It's tough times, and I just felt like there was just huge potential. And that's kind of my role, is to help facilitate that growth. But yeah, it's super exciting. I feel quite honored, actually. I've had 2 roles where, we've just had great product. As a CTO, I can provide tech that can help enable growth, but it's the product that drives that growth. And, ME+EM got fantastic product. Our customers love the product. At End as well, we had a phenomenal buying team, just great product. And that makes my job a lot easier.
Absolutely. So let's dig into that a little bit. What is the role of a CTO in a retail business like ME+EM?
That's a really hard question to answer. My parents thought I was an IT manager for a long time, which kind of not quite the same thing. So I guess my role is vision, really. A lot of it is vision. And kind of thinking, so when I'm thinking about building teams and putting in place technology, I'm kind of thinking not for where we are right now, but for where we're going to be. So, if you're a £100 million business, you're thinking like a £200 million business. If you're a £10 million business, be thinking like a 20 or 30 million pound business. So that's kind of like what I try and do, and try and bring that vision and make sure that the solutions that we're putting in place are scalable, and the people we're putting in place are the right people to help us get to where we need to be. So yeah, it's a lot of it's vision. A lot of it is choosing the right technology, putting it together in the right way, but also probably the more important part is the people behind it. You can have the best tech in the world, but if you don't have the right people around it, it can still fail. So actually just really kind of building those teams. And I think that's the bit that I'm most passionate about, is the team and the process and all that sort of stuff that goes around it. So it's quite a holistic role. At End, I felt like my tentacles were in every part of the business, because the business knew that in order to succeed, we need technology, and we need, it needs to enable our growth. But yeah, it's hard to sum it up in just one sentence.
Absolutely.
One of my nephews, who's very young, once asked me, so what is your job? What do you actually do? And I was kind of just make decisions about things. It's like, oh, that doesn't sound very hard.
Well, it's making the right decisions.
It's making the right decisions, yeah. And even if you make the wrong ones, learning from them. Absolutely.
So thinking about the other departments that you work with, who would you say you work most closely with?
So I work closely with everyone. Obviously, I'm part of the exec team, so I'm kind of working very closely with the rest of the executive team there. But, marketing and tech, the lines blur so much these days. So, it's hard to untangle a lot of those things. So, I kind of have very close relationships with our marketing team. In my previous role, I was very, very close to our customer service team. Our customer service team were just, they're on the front lines when something goes wrong. So it's really important to kind of build those relationships and, understand the challenges that the customers are having. But also when things do go wrong, if you have a great relationship with a team like that, they're on the front lines, they're bearing the kind of brunt of it. So, it kind of helps them deal with it in a better way. But, finance, I mean, it depends what the project is really. If you're doing an ERP project, you're going to be collaborating closely with finance teams. But that's kind of a lot of what my role is kind of bringing those teams together and doing it in the right way. And, what I always say to kind of business users across the business is kind of come to me with problems, not solutions, or come to my team with problems, not solutions. Because very often people kind of see IT or tech and they're like, oh, we want to do this, and we want to do it in this way, so can you just do it? And it's like, well, that might not be the best way. Actually, come to me with your problem and let me help you find a solution, and let's work together to find that solution. And I think that's how you set things up for success.
You mentioned IT management there, and I think that the relationship in most businesses with that sort of role is very transactional. Like, people do come with a request, they're on the hook for thinking about it. And so changing that perspective and trying to engage tech a little bit earlier is okay.
Well, it's different, right? It's different because, okay, if you're building out a team of software engineers, that's very different to IT. IT is a very operational kind of business mindset. It's very much an IT team there is to serve the business. It's mostly operational. It's about keeping the wheels of the business in motion. But you start hiring teams of software engineers, and it's super creative. They're very, very creative people, and you have to think about it differently and manage it differently. And I think this is what a lot of retailers don't quite get right, although it is changing, and there are some very, very big retailers who are actually doing this really well right now. But it is different, and you need to kind of make a distinction between those two things. The worst thing you could do is lump it all together and treat it the same.
My role tends to be operational, and I've often struggled working with marketing teams, for example, who have had great ideas, excellent things that they've been trying to drive out, but haven't closed the loop with us. And sometimes their initiatives have failed because we're the last to know. So what does good look like for you working in a business where you've got growth objectives that are set from the top down? Like, how should people be working together with a tech organization to achieve those goals?
Like the tech marketing war. Is anyone familiar with this concept? The idea is that tech people and marketing people kind of hate each other, but in reality they don't. But it's kind of a bit of a meme, I guess. So I've been quite fortunate actually. In my previous role, kind of our tech team and our marketing team kind of grew together. So actually that kind of mutual respect kind of was there from the start because we've been there since it was small, and we kind of went on that growth trajectory together. And I had a super, super close relationship with the marketing director there. At Me+EM, it's kind of, they've got, obviously being its own brand, it's very, very marketing driven, and the marketing team's involved in a lot of initiatives there. And they've been doing actually a lot of the cool things that in other roles I would do. So they were responsible for building out a data warehouse, for example, and they've done a phenomenal job of it. So I think it has to start with respect and understanding that kind of like, actually, you're really, really good at what you do, and we can work together and do amazing things together. So I think that's kind of key, is just that mutual respect. It's not just like, oh, they're the tech guys, let them go away and type away and code on the keyboard, and we're the marketing people and we can sell and do awesome things, and kind of you have to have that mutual respect.
Absolutely. So if a marketing team can create and build a data warehousing project out by themselves, clearly not every retailer needs to have a CTO. When do you think a CTO is appropriate? Like when can a CTO make an impact in the growth and success of a retailer?
That's a really good question, and I mean, it's probably different for every business. So I mean, in my current role, we had a big round of investment, and I was kind of hired shortly after that. And I think that is very often what happens: is a VC will come in, invest in a business, and kind of, oh, I can see the value of a CTO here. We should bring someone in. But I think in any business, I think that if technology is frustrating and you think it's not working the way that it should be working, and it's kind of the old kind of cliche. Every time we deploy something, something breaks, and it shouldn't be like this, and there must be a better way of doing things. Maybe you do need that kind of technical vision and someone with an understanding of what does good look like at this scale. And it might not be a full-time CTO. It might be an interim CTO one day a week. It might be a great head of engineering. It might be something different for every business. But I think that, what a CTO can really, really help with is that vision and that kind of like, what does good look like for where we're heading?
Okay. So if a business is thinking about bringing in a CTO, what should they look for? Like what sets a CTO apart from like a really great IT manager?
Oh, that's really, really good. That's a really good question. I feel like I should be better prepared for this question. So I think, I mean, not all CTOs are the same, and not all IT managers are the same. Obviously, there are great CTOs, there are probably some not so great CTOs, and same with IT managers. So I think that for me, what's really important for me in my role is that because I engage with so many different departments across the business, and because I'm kind of part of an exec team, and it's not a technical executive team, it's a retail exec team. They're retail, they're in fashion, they're not super technical. So it's super important that I can talk to them in a language they understand. And when you do that, it's a really magical thing, actually. You can see the sense of relief in people when it's kind of like, oh, I get it now. I understand why we're having these problems. I understand what we need to do to fix them, and it all makes sense. And so I think that's really kind of what I would look for if I was hiring a CTO, is can they talk to you and non-technical users in a language that you understand? And it all should just make sense.
Sounds like a lot more of a people role than a technical role.
You know what, it is. And as I said earlier, like my passion is building teams. And that's like my proudest moment. This is a little anecdote. I said I wasn't going to go off on tangents, but I'm going to do one. So my proudest moment in my entire career is when I was at End, we got an office in Old Street, and I kind of designed it all exactly how I wanted my team to work. And we had some really, really amazing people. And I remember one day I just went off to the kitchen, made myself a coffee, turned around and just looked out on the office. And it was just like, there's just this energy, and everyone's kind of huddled around desks, collaborating on things. And you just felt like there's something really special happening here. And I just felt like this immense wave of pride. And I love that because it's got nothing to do with technology, right? It's not like this problem we solved or this innovative thing that we did. It's people, and it's seeing people work together and collaborate. And we did some of our best work during that period. It was like peak talent. Yeah, I think in a lot of ways it's more important than the tech. I've seen instances of really, really bad tech executed well because you've got great people behind it. I'm sure there are people in this room who've seen the same.
Do you think that that's easier than the converse, that you've got great technology but bad people?
That's a really good question.
Which would you prefer to walk into?
Great people, yeah, great people, yeah, absolutely, yeah. You want good people.
Absolutely.
But then they're hard to find as well, you know. They are hard to find. I think that one of the things that I really didn't appreciate, and one of the things that I really learned in my career, is that point when we had kind of peak talent, I didn't appreciate how hard it is to get that. I think because it kind of just happened, and you're kind of in a bubble with that. I didn't appreciate until I went outside of that how hard it is to actually get that. But yeah, it's super important.
So if there's somebody in the audience here who's working in their role, they've not worked with a CTO before, and somebody's joining their business, they're at that point in their growth, what advice would you give them about building that relationship or making the most out of that new role in the company?
I mean, the first piece of advice I give is don't feel threatened. So, you know, in my previous role, I very much was kind of around from the beginning and kind of grew into it. So everyone knew me, everyone knew who I was, and everyone knew that, you know, I'm actually an all right guy and I'm here to help you all. But when you kind of come into a business new, it's a bit like, well, you kind of come in to change things. Like, no one brings a CTO in if everything's okay and we don't need to change. Like, things do need, and it might not necessarily be that everything's broken and everything's gone wrong. It might just be that it's not right to get us to where we're heading. So I'd say don't feel threatened. And I think I come back to what I said before, you know, come to me with problems. That's why I'm here. I'm here to help you solve your problems. Yeah, is that an okay answer?
It's a great answer. And flipping it around, if there's any technical people who have snuck into this to hear some advice from you, and they're thinking about growing in their career, maybe interested in being a CTO at a retailer, what advice would you give for them? Like, what can help make them successful in their first role as a CTO?
You know, I feel like I'm repeating myself here a lot, but you know, it's communication is kind of a big part of it, and you know, being able to when you go into a business and you're going to go make big changes and you're changing systems, and it's all of these systems that everyone's used to, and you're bringing in new people that we've never had these skill sets before. It's quite frightening for people. So you've got to kind of engage them and tell a story and take them along on that journey with you. And that's a very different skill set to being able to code, right? So that's what I would kind of say is kind of develop those skills, because, and it's hard to do. I mean, I feel like I don't do it massively well. I do my best and I'm always getting better, but you know, it's a hard thing to do, is to take an entire business on this journey of change, and change is scary.
Beyond what we've talked about so far, is there any advice you'd give for retailers generally who may or may not have a CTO, but we're at a Magento conference? I think we're all on a similar track here. Things that people should take from this as they're continuing on their own growth journey.
Things to take away from it.
Traps to avoid, hints for success.
Traps to avoid. What are the biggest mistakes that retailers make when it comes to technology? Is that a good way to rephrase the question?
Love it.
I think not understanding that it's about people as much as, and not just people and process, as much as technology. So I think that that's kind of key. And I think as well, you know, a lot of retailers don't really know good tech talent when they see it. So you need someone who does. You need someone who can understand, this is great tech talent. We really need to hang on to this person. I think the other mistake that I see a lot is, and this is particularly in retailers that have been around for a long time, you know, 100 years or so, is so in my first office, I had all these motivational posters on the wall, and my team hated them. They thought they were so cheesy. And when we moved to a bigger office, we had nowhere to put them, and everyone was very, very relieved. But one of them said, "We've always done it this way," is the most dangerous phrase in business. And that mindset can be quite prevalent in retailers, especially like retailers who've been around for a long, long time. You know, I'm going through an ERP project right now, and you know, I was kind of thinking about this. That's an area where it's kind of like the way we do ERP projects hasn't changed in God knows how many years. It's the same, and it's suboptimal, but everyone just kind of does it that way. And so I have actually done it in a different way, and it was very successful. But you know, kind of embrace change. Don't be scared to do things a little bit differently. And yeah, just appreciate that it is about people just as much as technology.
I think that's a great note to leave it on.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you very much, Paul. We're not doing Q&As here today, but if you'd like to continue the conversation with us, you can find us at the Akoova stand a little bit later. We're also going to be serving Prosecco between 5 and 7 at the stand, so please come and have a chat. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.